Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be making a tier list based on what your main says about you. We have 5 tiers. D for doo-doo, C for cringe, B for, okay, it's pretty balanced, A for awesome, and S for sigma. Or in other words, if you're an S, you're a Chad. If you're in D, well, yeah, red flags abound. And if you're somewhere in between, well, you're somewhere in between. And yes, I am blatantly ripping this concept from dozens of other channels that have done this for dozens of other games. Shameless, I know. But before we get started, of course, I do have to remind you that, well, this tier list is kind of a joke. It's an opinion tier list, of course, as are all my tier lists, but this one is completely unserious, and so I, of course, welcome all your criticisms of my rankings in the comment section down below, but please keep things respectful, and remember, at the end of the day, don't take this too seriously. We're just trying to have a little bit of fun here. And yeah, we're just going to be ranking these champions here in alphabetical order and based on their class, so the orders within the tiers doesn't matter. I'm just placing them on there as they appear in the list down here. So we're going to start off with Ashe. Now, there are 2 types of Ashe mains. You have the Ashe mains that are pretty awesome. They are very silly. They just want to knock people off of the map. They run the knockback cards at level 5, and Frog Isle is their favorite map. And yeah, those mains are pretty cool. Then you have the sweaty tryhard Ashe mains, which are very good at the character, but they're a bit more serious, and they usually range between balanced and cringe. And so I think to settle between those 2 types of Ashe mains, we're going to drop her down here into B. Next we have Azaan, and Azaan mains certainly have a blast playing their character, but, well, they don't always consider how sometimes their character can be very unfun to play against. They can also be pretty cocky, but they're overall not that terrible either, so I'm going to drop Azaan into balanced as well. Now we have Atlas, and if you are a really good Atlas main, then you're of course a Sigma, because Atlas is the hardest tank in the game. He requires an immense amount of game sense and literal 4D chess sort of thinking, because you have to manage time travel. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I think Atlas is going to go into the S tier for me, and he'll be joined very shortly by some other characters, don't you worry. Next we have Barik mains, who are all around pretty awesome. Barik mains know what they like. They want a simple, fun character, and they like the dwarf. He's just a silly little guy. They play the TF2 Barik skin, or the Steelforge skin, or honestly any of his skins. They're all pretty good, and they just have a blast. So Barik mains, I have to give them an A ranking. Fernando mains are also kind of in the same boat as Barik, where they enjoy their very fun, very powerful, and very simple tank champion. However, there are different types of Fernando mains. You have the Scorch and Formidable mains, which honestly are an easy S tier. They enjoy playing the Chad playstyle, playing aggressive, managing the resources properly, and, well, playing a much more difficult yet rewarding playstyle. And then you have the Aegis mains, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with playing Aegis if you enjoy it, but I mean, come on, it's just a bit boring. You're just standing there with your shield up, looking at the enemies. So I'm going to balance out those 2, and I'm going to put Fernando into A tier. Now, when it comes to Inara mains, you have the very chill players who just kind of want to be the big rock. Usually they duo with a support main, and they're pretty friendly people. Or you have the flying Inara mains, who enjoy utilizing an underestimated card to really surprise the enemies and pull off some really sick plays. They like mastering rollouts and spend a lot of time looking around the maps and studying to see where the best rollout spots are, which is honestly pretty respectable. So I think I'm going to put Inara up here in A tier as well. Uh-oh, we've got con mains. If you're a con main, well, you're kind of a meta slave, aren't you? Khan has been a very meta off-tank for a very long time. And, well, he's also a bit of a simp, isn't he? He's just kind of a cringe character. He's not really that fun to play against. He's also, I would argue, not the most fun to play either. I mean, he certainly has his merits. Sometimes you hit a sick ult, and it's fun to throw people off the map. But ultimately, I think I'm just going to give him a C ranking. He's kind of cringe. Instant S tier. Instant S tier for my boy Makoa. Makoa mains are always super chill and super both respectable and respectful. They're very good at the game. They have a lot of game sense and know how to play their character. And when they hit those hooks, boy, are they insane. So Makoa mains are all around Absolute Giga Chads. Honestly, the perfect example here of the S tier ranking. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know of that many proper Nyx mains. However, I do know that she has been one of the strongest tanks in the game ever since her release, and even now, after many, many nerfs, she's still up there among the best. And that means that she kind of has the meta slave problem that Khan has as well, where a lot of people that play her are simply trying to just win, super competitive players. They really want to dominate the enemies, and that makes them kind of cringe. They're more focused on winning, they can tend to be salty, and yeah, they don't really try to have that much fun like some of the other mains do, like the Makoa mains, who just really enjoy a good hook. Oh, poor Raum mains, dude. Raum mains want a simple life. They want to play the big demon boy and satisfy that power fantasy of being a massive juggernaut. And they live for those moments where they're able to absolutely dominate an enemy team, run through them, slam down their ult, and drill people with headshots. But to do that, they have to suffer so much abuse, because Raum is one of the easiest tanks to counter in the whole game. They have to deal with poison bolts, they have to deal with Tyra fire, they have to deal with all sorts of hard crowd control, and the fact that they can't cleanse Cauterize unless they have really smart positioning. So Raum mains, they go through a lot, and they just want to have a good time and want to live out that power fantasy, which I think is a very respectable goal. So Raum mains are going to go into S tier. Ruckus mains are overall pretty okay. They're a bit silly, kind of like the Goblin himself, and they do enjoy finding map exploits and using those boosters that they have to really try and surprise attack the enemies from positions that they don't expect. And I don't really have anything against them, however, they're also, I don't know, I don't feel like they're super deserving of an A ranking. I don't know, we're going based off vibes here, so I'm going to put them into B.
Ha! Me big man! Me run fast! Me swing axe! I'm a Terminus main! Yeah!
A tier. Torvald mains are like Khan mains, except they don't really simp, they're just a bit more devious and crafty. You'll often see a Torvald main paired with some sort of very spicy flank main. And, well, Torvald, he is a living nightmare for other players because of how annoying he is between his nullify, his protection, his ultimate, the fact that he is so gosh darn hard to kill, the fact that he forces out so many items from you. Torvald players enjoy being a nuisance, and they enjoy pocketing their flanks and watching them win the game for them, so we're definitely going to have to give Torvald a C for cringe rating. Yagorath mains are just a whole different breed of player. They're playing a totally different game out here to the rest of us, because Yagorath is such a unique champion. I try to think about her as little as possible, but the people who can make her work and who main her are definitely pretty special. That said, I have to dock major points from them because often the way they make Yagorath work is by abusing the fact that she can ult people behind certain walls to basically secure free kills, which, I mean, it's a part of the game, but it's annoying and it feels very cheap and I don't like it, so I'm gonna put her into B tier. Oh boy, Androxus mains. Androxus mains just have to be the best player in the lobby. They have to be better than everyone else with their fancy flick shots, and they have to abuse whatever the heck they can, be it Cursed Revolver, or Cursed Revolver, or Cursed Revolver. Gosh, how many times has that talent been reworked? And, yeah, they're generally kind of annoying, so, yeah, C for cringe. Like Buck himself, Buck mains are usually pretty chill. They live for the thrill of getting a multi-kill by bouncing on the enemy team relentlessly, but whether they actually get the opportunity to do that is a coin toss, and especially when there's double support in the lobby or a bunch of anti-dive characters or Torvald or anything like that, they end up suffering a lot. And, well, that suffering is just part of the discipline that it takes to be a monk like Buck, so we're going to put him up into the A tier. Like Androxus mains, Evie mains are pretty obnoxious, and they always have to be the best player in the lobby at all costs, and when things don't go their way, they tend to get pretty upset. They recognize that they're playing the hardest character in the game, and as such, whenever they do something okay, they have to brag about it to all their friends as if it's the coolest thing they've ever seen. And they upload all sorts of clips to YouTube about how they got some sort of crazy kill game or did this really cool flick shot, when in actuality they were likely just playing up against lower elo players than them, and that's why it looks like they did good. When in actuality, if they went up against someone of their own skill level, they'd likely get crushed because they're not as good as they think they are. Evie players also try to justify having blatantly overpowered mechanics like Wormhole and Snow Globe because their character takes a little bit more skill than the average champion, and that also is really obnoxious, and she's super unfun to play against. Overall, Evie mains are as annoying and obnoxious as the character herself, and so for that I have to put Evie in D tier. There are very few Caspian mains left, and that's because this character has gone from S tier to D tier more times than I can count, and he's never really had a resting point in between. Evil Mojo has done a lot of good stuff to the character, but they've also taken a lot of good stuff away from him, and overall, he's pretty clunky, but the people who do put up with his mechanics somehow genuinely enjoy the character, and they're willing to put up with all the pain and torture that Evil Mojo is willing to throw at them. And for that determination and fortitude alone, I have to put Caspian into A tier. Now, there are very few Caspian mains for sure, but if you were to compare that to the amount of Kasumi fans there are, it would be like comparing a fully packed stadium to a ghost town. I've only ever met one genuine Kasumi main, and they're alright. A pretty good person, overall, yeah, B tier. Where to start with Koga players? Oh my. So, all three of his playstyles are obnoxious. You have Adrenaline Junkie players, which are, of course, technically meta slaves because the other two talents are just garbage, and they're often sweaty controller players who won't play without a Torvald or a Corvus pocket, and who just abuse aim assist and the fact that Koga actually has pretty high SMG damage paired with good survivability on his dashes. Then you have the Dragon Fangs players, which all collectively share one brain cell because they spam the same combo over and over again, get a few kills, die, and then think that they did something good, when in all actuality, what they did takes zero skill whatsoever. And then you have Blood Reaper players, which don't even have brain cells. They're like single-celled organisms, because they're picking just one of the worst talents in the game. Like, yeah, it makes the ultimate do some damage, but every character in the game can easily run away from it for the most part, and the rest of the time, 98% of the match, you're useless, because you don't have the benefits of Dragon Fangs, and you don't have the benefits of Adrenaline Junkies, so why are you even playing the talent? D tier. Moving on. Oh, but it gets even worse, because we have Lex players. Lex easily goes into D tier. Lex players also love abusing aim assist, but they're also playing a character who has built-in wall hacks and aimbot and an AoE execute ultimate. Isn't that fun? And they also love abusing broken talents. Discovery was meta for a while, which gave Lex some of the highest DPS in the game, and then Heroism was meta for a while until they finally gutted that talent. And Lex still finds a way to be annoying even in his current state. So, yeah, easiest D tier of my life. Maeve players are overall pretty good in my book, and I would just put her in A tier and call it a day. Except, there are some people out there who genuinely main Street Justice, and for that, I have to drop her down into B. Oh boy, now I do feel really bad for the Moji player base right now, because the Moji rework into a support was one of the most divisive things that Evil Mojo has ever done, at least in recent memory. And there are a lot of flank Moji mains who absolutely can't stand that their character basically just got removed from Paladins, and honestly, rightfully so. And then you also have some flank mains who do enjoy the support Moji, and then you have a whole bunch of new Moji players who enjoy the support rework, and then you also have all the rest of us who either like playing with emoji on our team or hate playing with emoji on our team or on the enemy team. So there are a lot of mixed opinions about this character, a lot of vitriol based around this character right now, and for that I'm gonna just drop her into C. She deserves better. There are two types of Skye mains. Those who are similar to the Koga and Lex mains, they enjoy abusing broken stuff on controller. And then there are the people who are just horny for some booba. And either way, solid C tier from me. Talus is pretty much just like Koga and pretty much just like Lex, abusing aim assist and ridiculously high DPS with overcharge paired with ridiculous survivability from the teleport to annoy the ever-living crap out of anyone who fights against them. D tier. Do I even need to say anything? Look at this guy. Come on. D tier. Vatu mains are like Evie mains, except they don't have to rely on the crutch of using an AoE weapon or having an ice block that blocks infinite amounts of damage. And so, they actually are playing a character that requires skill. Oh my gosh. Vatu mains are still pretty serious though, and they do suffer from some ego issues, so I can't exactly put them super high, but I think B is a good place for them. Vora mains just want to play a stylish, fun, and balanced flank, and well, that's exactly what Vora is, which is why they play Vora, and I think that's pretty respectable, so Vora's gonna go into A tier. Zhin mains are like Dragonfang's Koga mains, except they channeled all their might and their power and their focus into that one brain cell, until it finally spontaneously undergoes mitosis and turns into 2 brain cells. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot to play this guy, and, well, he's the cockroach of the realm. He's really annoying, and so are Zhin players. Betty La Bomba mains are so basic that they probably think Flamin' Hot Cheetos are a culinary masterpiece. This character might be the only champion in the game that requires fewer brain cells to play than Zhin, and so for that, I have to give her a D tier ranking. Now, there are a lot of types of Bomb King players, and all of them are absolute chads. You have the Jolt players, who just want to see people go flying off the map. They're very pure at heart, they're kinda like the Ashe mains who run the knockback card at level 5, and I absolutely respect that. Then you have the Rollout addicts, who just want to send themselves flying around the map. Also pretty cool. You also have the Chain Reaction enthusiasts, who absolutely salivate when they see a team comp that has both Raum and Yagorath on it. And you know what? I respect that too. And then you do have the more serious Bomb King players who want to use the actually super well-designed mechanics of this character to play at a more skillful level, and that's also pretty cool. And if you can put all of that together, well, by golly, you might just be the ultimate Bomb King main, so Bomb King gets an S tier ranking from me. When I picture a Cassie main in my head, I picture a washed-up Season 1 to Season 2 Grandmaster who wants to relive the glory days of Paladins, but the fact is, we're living in 2024 and, well, we're far past those days, and Cassie herself is kind of irrelevant in the meta, but they do still manage to make her look pretty good. There's nothing really wrong with anything that I just said, it's just that, you know, if you are that type of player, you're kind of a bit jaded at the game, and no one can really blame you for that, but it doesn't really make you awesome or a Sigma, now does it? So we're going to put Cassie into B for balanced. Dredge mains are only slightly more tolerable than Betty mains. A lot of them do just end up spamming either Hurl or Scuttle, and that's just cringe. The one saving grace that stops him from going into D tier are those very few Chad Dredge mains who play Abyss Spike, and they use the card Crow's Nest to actually perform some super sick rollouts and flanks, and I do have respect for that. They're also the only Dredge mains who can actually hit their primary shots. Wow. Drogoz mains are kind of similar to Raum mains. They live for the power fantasy of hitting a juicy fire spit salvo combo on a group of enemies and seeing their entire screen turn orange with damage. But they do have to endure a lot of abuse from all of the hitscan players, including the very cringe Androxus players that I already ranked earlier on this list. And so, I'm going to put Drogoz players right up into S tier alongside Raum. Imani has been broken for years, and the people who have put up with that and managed to make her look good in spite of that are nothing short of impressive. Imani herself is a very cultured champion with a lot of mechanics to master, she has a lot of depth, and she is a very, very cool champion, and the people who play her well have my respect, so Imani is also going to go into S tier. Kinessa mains are kinda like Cassie mains, in the sense that they're just trying to relive their former glory days when this champion was actually good, but the fact is, she's dog water, and she's had so many quality of life downgrades over the past few years that she simply feels awful, and at least Cassie mains don't have to endure that. But on top of that, you're also maining a sniper in Paladins. What's wrong with you? That's gross. So Kinessa goes into C tier. Just like her bodyguard Khan, Lian is meta, and a lot of the people who have played her over the years are simply just meta slaves. And they also enjoy deleting people for free because they have all of that auto-aim that plays the game for them. So yeah, Lian mains are pretty cringe, but at least they actually have to press buttons, and despite her being an auto-aim character, she actually does still require pretty decent aim, and so I do have to put her above D tier for that, because, oh my gosh, Zhin's down there. Oh. Octavia mains really looked at Overwatch and Ashe's super smooth, polished gameplay with her semi-automatic rifle that feels tactile, powerful, and super fun to use, and said, nah, I'd rather just go play this clunky piece of garbage instead. They're kind of boring. I mean, there's nothing really terrible about Octavia mains per se, unless you're a stinky aim assist abuser. But, yeah, she's just, she's kind of cringe, isn't she? Honestly, I don't have much of an opinion of Omen mains, because he's the newest champion in the game, and he's been buggy for most of his life. On release, he had a lot of bugs. He had a little bit of a phase where he was really good, and a lot of people were kind of just maining him because he was meta, and then he fell off super, super hard, and the people who have stuck with him during that are playing the character because they genuinely enjoy him, and I do respect that. But at the end of the day, it's also Omen, so I'm not going to place him super high. I think B tier is as high as he goes. Sati mains are people who suck at doing a 1-dig in CSGO, and so they decide to come over to Paladins instead for a much easier experience. And they also enjoy having the added benefit of some of the most annoying abilities in the game, where they can knock people into the sky, make them completely defenseless, and also auto-aim them with their coin, as if aiming wasn't already easy enough with this character. So yeah, Sati, mega cringe. Sha Lin mains and Lian mains do have one important thing in common, and that's the fact that they both are absolutely tired of being flanked, and so they want to play a character that completely shuts flanks down. But the major difference is that Sha Lin actually takes skill, and has a reasonably fun and skillful kit. And so for that, Sha Lin goes into A, while Lian rots in C. Strix mains are people who suck at using the AWP in CSGO, and so decided to come on over to Paladins where aiming is a little bit easier. But, come on, you're maining a sniper in Paladins? That's so cringe. Ew, C tier. Honestly, I don't know a single Tiberius main, and I often forget that this character even exists, but if I had to imagine what a Tiberius main looks like, I'd imagine the shy guy at parties, who's overall pretty sweet, pretty nice, but kind of boring. And, there's nothing wrong with that, honestly, but yeah, just, I don't know. He exists. He's super inoffensive. I'll put him into A tier for that, because honestly, that's a lot better than I can say for most champions. Tyra mains enjoy playing games on easy mode, because they get to relax and have a good time while seeing a bunch of big numbers come up on their screen and feel like they're doing something cool. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but it is also kind of boring. And, well, slightly worse than Tiberius, so B tier. Victor mains are disenfranchised Call of Duty players who couldn't handle using an AK in CSGO, so they decided to come on over to Paladins where it's easier to aim. But the good thing about Victor is, unlike Strix and Sati, he's not nearly as cringe, and so the worst thing you see a Victor main doing is playing cardio and just running around the entire map. It's a nuisance, but I mean, there are far worse things that they could be doing, and there are also the Chad Shrapnel mains who enjoy actually throwing grenades and doing something more interesting than just holding down left click, so I do somewhat respect that. I'm going to put him next to Tyra, because he's also kind of boring. Vivian mains take playing on easy mode to relax to a whole new level. Trying to start a conversation with a Vivian main is like overdosing on sleeping pills. They are extremely boring people, and so they gravitate to the most boring champion in Paladins. And I'd say, that's pretty cringe. Hardcore dedicated Willow mains have been enjoying an underpowered character for years, and I definitely have to respect that. That said, they also enjoy a very annoying character, with an ability that can completely shut down Cauterize and the most annoying voice in the entire game except for Stellar Witch Lilith. And there are also an influx of newer Willow mains who just want to abuse the fact that she's overpowered, and so I have to dock points for that. So I would put the dedicated Willow mains in A tier, but I'm gonna have to drop her down to B. If Torvald mains are Chads, then Corvus mains are hardcore betas. They want to pocket somebody and have them win the game for them, just like Torvald players, except Torvald players actually have the gumption about them to really do something else to contribute to the team fight, whereas Corvus mains, well, they don't really want to have to do much. They also want to play a twink femboy character, but they don't have the skill nor the determination to play Caspian, so they end up just playing Corvus instead. And for that, I definitely have to give them a C tier ranking. A part of me feels really bad for Furia mains because of how much this character has been changed over the past year or so. She has gotten more soft reworks than any other champion I can think of in recent history. Her talent dynamic is completely and utterly different to how she was a year ago, and that can't really be said for any other champion. And so I do have to respect people who stick with this character and still manage to find her pretty fun. So I'm gonna put her up into A tier.
Me play orc, me plays funny totem, me go bzzz.
A tier. There are two types of Grover mains. There are the people who just enjoy playing the silly little Groot character, and then there are the more utilitarian players who definitely are kind of like meta slaves, at least because he was meta for a very long time, and they also just want to play a character who can do it all. He can do a lot of damage, he can heal a lot, he can tank, he can fly across the map with one vine. For a long time, there was nothing bad about Grover. And I do kind of feel bad for Grover mains because he's been kicked in the jaw this update. Bro just got absolutely wrecked with that Blossom nerf, and yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. And to be honest, I'm not really sure where I want to place this guy, because there are definitely some aspects of Grover mains that I can appreciate, but there are others that would lump them right down here with Khan and Torvald, so I think I'm just going to drop him into B. In my opinion, there are two types of IO mains. You have the genuinely sweet, kind-hearted IO mains who are very good at their jobs, and they just want to be a positive influence on the team, keep everyone alive, they're super, super wholesome. And then you have the IO mains who play this character for the same reason that Skye is their main flank. They want a waifu. And they're also, I would say, the types of players who also play Sacrifice Flying IO and just absolutely troll all over the enemy team. And, well, there's a very stark contrast between the two, and so to find a nice balance between those two types of IO mains, well, I'm just going to put her in the balanced tier. Genos mains live for a good ult. They literally have wet dreams about hitting the perfect 5-man pentakill, and every single round when they have their ultimate available, they will try and ult the entire enemy team from spawn. And they also tend to think that they can still definitely competently heal their team as the solo healer, even though Genos has been the worst healer in the game for a while now. So I think I'm going to put him into C for cringe. Lilith mains are always trying to get the most amount of stats in the lobby. They try and min-max their playstyle so that they can get the most possible healing and damage out of this character, and they will flame you if you're a newer player for playing Cursed Accord. That said, they do put a lot of effort into this character, and I do have to respect that, even if Lilith herself has caused a lot of problems for the support class, and in general, I find her to be kind of clunky and cringe. So I think I'm just gonna drop her into the B tier and swiftly move on. Do I even have to say anything? Look at this guy. S tier. High-skilled pip mains are absolute beasts. They have mastered every aspect of this character and are capable of doing good rollouts, having super good ability usage. They're mechanically very gifted at making sure they always hit the maximum amount of people with the potion at the perfect time, and they generally try and do a lot of damage too. They're very well rounded, and they are some of the best players in the game. So we are going to put Pip into the S tier. I don't think Rey mains are inherently vicious people, even though a lot of people certainly hate going against this character. I think they just enjoy her playstyle, think she's cute, you know, the little nerd bunny girl. They just want to enjoy this character for what she is, which is a very active support who does a lot more than just healing, and they appreciate that she's one of the only supports with a strong and unique identity left. And I definitely do have to respect that at the end of the day, so Rey is going to go into B tier. Now, if you are a Paladins player, you are statistically most likely to be a Seris main. Seris is the most popular character in this game, but that doesn't save her from being cringe. She's still a very boring support, and the way a lot of Seris mains play her is just by playing Mortal Reach, being very safe in the backline, and doing almost nothing but healing, which is not very respectable. There are, however, some Seris mains who are much more cultured, who play Soul Collector and try and help their team through more than just healing, and are willing to actually take risks rather than just stay in their safe little veil the entire time. And so, I think that does save Seris from going into the D tier, but I'm still gonna put her into C. And last but not least, we have Ying, and there are quite a few different types of Ying mains. We have the Ying mains that are kind of like the wholesome IO mains, where they're very sweet, kind-hearted, and they just want to heal their team and see the best for them. They want to be very positive, just like Ying herself, you know, a very cheery, kind person. And then, well, you have the people who play this character just because she's the meta support. And then, even worse than that, oh god, you have the people who still, even though it's 2024 and we should have been past this by now, they still think that they can solo heal the team with Focusing Lens or Resonance, even though we've proven that it's not a viable playstyle for like 6 years now, but they still keep trying to do it. It's so frustrating to me. And those people single-handedly dropped this character down into C tier for me. Otherwise, I'd probably put her in B tier, or maybe even A tier for the very sweet Ying mains out there, but those Focusing Lens and Resonance players, they're just the worst, man. Those players, if I were just ranking those players, they'd be right down here with 7. But, yeah, we have to take a more balanced approach, and so I'm going to put her into C. And there you have it, my tier list ranking each champion based on what it means if you main them. This is definitely going to get a bunch of dislikes, isn't it? Well, you know what? I hope you at least were entertained by this video, and if you were, make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new around here, and comment down below what you think about my tier list. Please just keep it respectful. I'm kind of scared to look at the comments, but yeah. Just remember that this video is not to be taken super seriously. We're just having a little bit of fun. We're goofing off, so don't be super spiteful in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.